The ProVer4030 comes with a 400 by 300 by 110 millimeter work area. This in inches is 15.75 by 11.8 by 4.33 inches. It also includes a 300 watt pre-installed spindle, and you have the optional bracket that comes with it to include allow you to fit a DWP611 router from DeWalt. And there are printable adapters if you wish to go down to the Makita router instead. It includes a series of bits, a set of clamps, and an MDF wasteboard. All of the axes on this CNC are powered by NEMA 23 motor, so for higher torque, and the whole frame is built out of a heavy-duty C-beam structure and linear rails. The SainSmart Genmitsu ProVer XL4030 does come in kit format. It takes approximately 1 hour to assemble. First we install each of the Y-axis couplers to attach the Y-axis to its stepper motor. We repeat the process for the second Y-axis. Using 4 M5 50mm screw bolts, we attach the Y stepper motor to the coupler using the adapter that's required to the first of the Y-axis. Next we will repeat the process on the second Y-axis motor using the same C bracket and 4 M5 screws. Next, we align the coupler so we can actually tighten the bolts to affix the stepper motor spindle to the Y-axis. And we repeat the process on the second Y-axis stepper motor. Using 8 M520 bolts, we are going to attach the wasteboard, ensuring that the countersunk part of the affixing screws on the wasteboard are pointing upwards, not the section flush with the sides. Next we install the dust baffles using 4 M516 bolts. Next we install the X-axis gantry. Once we have it in place, we need to ensure that we align the bolt holes because there are 4 bolts on each side that need to go into place. And this is a pretty tight fit, so be aware that you'll take a bit of maneuvering to get it to fit. It is a snug, tight fit. We will then need 4 M516s for each side to attach the gantry to the base. We will also need 4 washers per side and 4 locking washers per side. First place the spring or locking washer on, then the plain washer over that, and then we screw that into place. Repeat that for all 4 positions on each side and ensure that they are tight once complete. We're going to repeat that process on the other side. So we have again 4 M516s with 4 washers and 4 locking washers or spring washers. Next we will attach the X-axis stepper motor by using 4 M555s, the C-channel adapter and our X-axis stepper motor. Now that we've attached the X-axis stepper motor, we are now going to tighten up the coupler to ensure that it is holding tight onto the central shaft of the X-axis stepper motor. Next we put in place the cable harness for the X and Y axes. Next we're going to take the drag chain holder and we're going to mount that to the X-axis using these 2 already installed T-nuts. Once we get both bolts started, we are then going to slide the holder right to the end of the X-axis before we tighten it up to ensure that it is not getting in the way of the movement of the X-axis gantry. Next we will install the drag chain guide, which also holds the end stops for the X-axis. Be careful putting these bolts in place. They are very, very close to the connectors for the end stop wiring, so please be cautious when you install these. Do not pinch the wires because you will cause problems with your end stops if you do. Next we will use 2 small bolts to attach the end of the drag chain to the X end stop holder and the drag chain guide. Please be careful installing these because you need to install them straight because they will wear away on the threads and they will damage the threads, so be careful when you install these. Now we're going to use 2 small bolts to attach the Y-axis drag chain to the X-axis so it can move freely with it and not impinge any wires as the Y-axis moves. Next we will attach the other end of the Y-axis drag chain to the end and the base of the CNC to ensure that it is mounted, and the remaining cables that come off the end will actually go into our control box, and this allows us to ensure that there's fluid movement of the drag chain and that everything is mounted correctly and securely. Next we will plug in the Y-axis stepper motor. There is a second long Y-axis stepper motor that needs to be run underneath the back of the machine to the other Y-axis stepper motor on the far side. Installing the various connections is pretty simple because everything is properly labelled and it's easy to follow. We also need to take the Y-axis end stop and ensure that we connect that. Around the back of the machine we take the long cable for the Y2 stepper motor, plug it in and put it into the 2 retaining clips along the back of the base. We will lock those later on once we have sure everything is being assembled correctly. Before we plug anything into our control box, we set the voltage that is correct for our region, and on the other side we ensure that the switch is set correctly for our CNC because it has a CNC or a laser option. We do not have fitted the laser, we're running on the CNC only. On top we have our stop button, make sure that is turned off. We have our spindle control, we have our push button reset, pause and resume. We have our on-off switch. And then we have our connectors along the back where we connect up our wiring. First we're going to do is plug in the spindle into this round connector on the very end. This is a twist lock, like a airplane style connector. Then we have to match up a series of wires for our end stops, Z end stops, Y end stops, and X end stops are plugging into one end. And then on the other side, we will plug in our motors. So let's start with our motors. First we're going to put in our Z motor, push until it clicks into place. Next we're going to put in our X motor. Everything is labeled. Our Y1 motor and our Y2. Next we'll turn the box around and plug in all of our end stops. So this is our Z limit switch, our Y limit switch 1, our X limit switch. The Z probe does not come with its green connector attached to the end, so you need to loosen the two screws at the end of it. Insert the two connectors. It does not matter which way. It can be red or blue, or red and black, or black and red. The order does not matter. Tighten them up nice and snugly, and once they're nice and tight and installed, it plugs into the connector at the back at the right beside the round screw-in airplane connector. Next we plug in the provided USB cable. This will be plugged into your PC, but not yet. We need to install the driver, which we'll do in a moment. The driver becomes available on the USB stick that comes with the CNC. From the USB drive, we run the setup for the driver installation, click on install, let that complete, and click OK. Once that is done, we can then go and open Candle. Next we're going to open Candle. You can run it off the USB, but it's best to copy to your local hard drive. And you do not need to install it, you just double click and it will open the interface. And from here we will go to Service, then Settings, and we will set the COM port, and the baud rate should be set OK. Then we hit OK to save. There will always be an alarm when you first connect to your CNC, so click on the little padlock icon to unlock it. And once you have that done, you can now start using the arrow keys to move your X, Y and Z axis to test to make sure everything's functioning okay. It is a good idea to move the gantry the full length of its axis to ensure that the end stops are working correctly, and to also ensure that you have full complete movement. I would recommend never go over 100 millimeters at a time movement. And once you get everything up and running and you know everything's functioning, you do use the controls on the control box to control the spindle speed, but you must first click on the spindle icon. Even though it does not control the speed of the spindle, you must first click on the spindle icon to actually enable the spindle to turn, and then you use the controller on the control handle. Then you use the controller on the control box to control the speed of the spindle. Once you have selected your job in your end mill, you are ready to start working. Congratulations, you have now set up your Genmitsu ProVer XL4030 CNC.